Put on some pants at least. You're gonna get some skid marks on the bottom of your chair.
Oftentimes I cough and fart at the same time because I can't control it. So I'm like,
yeah. All right. Welcome to another exciting episode of The Stiff Truth. I'm Scott Casanova, and my good buddies with me today. It's first time caller, long time listener, Bob West. You going to be on the show with us?
Roberto Oeste.
Weste.
See,
I did think for a minute, what's West in fucking Spanish? I don't even know. But anyways, we got a good one, guys. Real exciting show today. Thanks everybody for joining us, all the Stiffies and Stiffettes out there. It's been a good week here, Bob. But how are you doing, bud? How are things over there on the home front in the West household?
we're doing good. Holding the fort down. Wanting to see some football. NBA started up, so I've had some Mavericks action lately. So that's been pretty intense, getting my son into that and letting him watch Luka ball out. So that's pretty fun. But
tell me about that. I haven't actually been able to catch any games. They're like, did they go right into like a kind of playoff kind of bracket right out of the gate, or
they went into all right? So only like all but 8 teams were eligible. So I think there's 32 teams, maybe 30 in the NBA, something like that. Anyway, so all but 8 teams. The bottom 8 teams, like the Warriors and all the other, bottom 8 teams, they weren't invited. But then everyone else, basically, it was a 7-game round-robin schedule in the bubble. So the bubble, if you don't know, is there at Disney. And
I know, right?
Which seems like it's the worst place for them to be to protect themselves from COVID. But so what they've done is they basically set up a quarantine, literal, actual bubble with signs that says like no point of entry past this point and all that. And if an NBA player, which actually one went on the outside of it to pick up his Uber Eats or his DoorDash or whatever the fuck it was, right? And they found out, and he got 2 weeks in his hotel room. So they're enforcing this. And by that metric, I don't think they've had a single COVID case down there because of how they've been running the bubble, which is pretty impressive. But other than that, the games are kind of interesting because they're in there. They all play in the same, court, right? And
that's weird. So there's like no home court advantage kind of feeling or anything
all
like that. Which
neutral court.
That's kind of nice, though, actually. Just kind of equal, clean slate for everybody, right? So that's not bad.
Yeah, and they have like screens up instead of fans, like for fans, and you can actually like buy or get your ticket somehow, and you Skype, and so it shows you like there with Skype and your virtual background or whatever, and they show you in the stands, as they're playing. There's actual people in the stands, but they're there virtually.
Well, that's pretty cool, actually. It's a lot better than what MLB is doing. Honestly, there's been all kinds of corona outbreaks with different baseball teams. I've seen that, which has kind of been a bummer. Certain games have been postponed here and there. But also in the stands, they just had like cardboard cutouts, which actually kind of funny. I don't know if you saw somebody had the dude from Weekend at Bernie's as one of the cardboard cutouts behind the dugout. That was fucking that's classic. And then the Rangers actually paid tribute to the late Vinnie Paul, the drummer for Pantera. They had Vinnie Paul in the background at one of the Astro games. So I was like, that's fucking cool. But they're handling a little bit differently. They're kind of doing the same thing though too, right? Isn't it like really abbreviated season, almost right to almost like a playoff? Same thing with NHL too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of have to do what you can do. It sounds like the NBA is planning on getting through this and starting up right back and maybe like a month late in November or December, and then they'll just start their next season a little bit later. But, signs are sort of encouraging with COVID, so we'll see how it goes by that point. Maybe there'll be real games, maybe not. I have no idea, but, at least there's something. At least there's something going on. These guys get an opportunity to make their money because I don't know if you've thought about it or not, but a lot of these contracts, players don't get paid if they don't play their games, right? So I'm sure there's a little bit of that too by the players union as to why these leagues need to continue in some fashion. Mm-hmm. But I know, let's feel bad for the millionaires.
Right. I know. Seriously. Well,
But
and that makes sense. I mean, I just hope, God, I hope that NFL goes off without a hitch this year. I mean, I don't care if there's fans in the stadiums or whatever like that, but you probably heard, right? Was it the Big Ten conference like canceled fucking college football for the year? So
yeah,
is
Big
there?
Ten and I think the Mountain West canceled already too.
Oh man, the strongest division in college football too.
I know. What is BYU going to do?
not beat everybody in their division this year. That sucks. Oh man, what a bummer, dude. But anyways, yeah, it's cool, man. Yeah, I haven't really got to watch a lot of games, but it has been refreshing to just turn on ESPN and see something else besides, like, cats playing chess and stuff like that. So that's pretty nice. It's a little bit of normalcy.
I've been getting really into curling and bowling. It's been good.
You know who a lot of curlers are. They're also, when they're not curling, they have side jobs as government interpreters too. I've seen that. I don't know if you've seen that, but I've noticed that too. So anyways, just
Yeah. I thought they were softball players on the side, but
hey, they got a lot of things going on, bro. You need multiple jobs when you do curling, I think. But anyway, Bob, tell me about something here. I'm actually pretty excited to dive into this here. We both have a new little hobby here. Could be quite lucrative too, but it was actually last week too when I took a really long time on my break because I was Tom Cruising back there at the bar, fucking flipping bottles, making cocktails for everybody. And you created an account with an online stock market investment kind of company and kind of got me into it. How's that been going for you? Have you been doing pretty well there?
So I recreated an account. So I'd had this for a few years, and then like last year sometime, I needed some emergency funds, so I sold some stocks and got out or whatever. So I was getting back into it, and the break was taking a minute. So I was like, oh, I bet I have time to re-log back into my investment account. Excuse me, but Jess got so upset with me. Because she was watching the show on YouTube, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing on your phone? Get off your phone! You're like not even paying attention to Scott." It was like terrible TV.
Well, that's not unusual for you not to be paying attention to me, but you usually act. Yeah. You son of a bitch. But no, you usually at least put on the face like you are paying attention. But yeah, I noticed that too when I came back from our break. You were staring at your crotch. I just thought you thought things were pretty impressive down there in the South. But no, you're getting in there. So that's interesting.
I did. I recreated everything. I started off with some blue chip techies and got in there with some Tesla and Microsoft and Apple. Gotta have your Apple, at least a little slice.
I'll take a nice bite out of that company. Yeah, baby.
But
excuse me,
it is a little bit of an addiction, though. Just kind of keeping an eye on your stocks. It can drive you crazy, the ebbs and flows of the day.
Yeah, especially when you check like the app like about 60 times throughout the day. That's rough because, man.
Refresh. I lost 4 cents.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I'm up 8 cents.
You're all, Derry, you're not going to college. Wait. No, you're back. You're back.
We're back on. Oh, community college. Whoop, state school.
You're all, oh, Lordy, we're up 15 cents. You're going to Harvard. Fun stuff though, man. I must tell you, obviously you sent me that little invite to, I got on there. I think we got pretty similar stocks. I think I the same kind of flagship blue chip. That sounds fucking stupid.
That's like something you say warming up before the show.
Yeah, I'm just doing my warm-ups late. But yeah,
flagship blue chip.
Tesla, Amazon, Microsoft. No, I got in there too. I got some Tesla. I got some Apple. I did go a little bit different though. I got some Amazon. So far, they're not doing me too right, but that's okay. I got to be patient.
That's okay. The post office like collapsing will drive that up.
Yeah, I almost feel like I should buy into UPS and FedEx like right away now too. But then I also went with Clorox Company. They're kind of lingering behind a little bit, and then got some Netflix in there. they're positive right now. So, but yeah, exciting stuff. It is quite addictive. I didn't think it would be. I just got a notification on my phone earlier this morning. My screen time is up 197% from last week. So I was like, wow, looking at that stash app, a shitload. Because usually, it's down there, and that's accounting for the gay porn that I look at usually. So I knew that wasn't it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, you already know how much time's allotted to that.
yeah, and that's already built into the algorithm and everything. But in all seriousness, though, man, it is cool because it is an addictive thing. Let's face it, it's a form of gambling, but it's a form of gambling where we're not just throwing money on black or throwing money on whatever and then losing it all. We do have the potential to build a nice little portfolio here and make some money and have this thing grow. So it's exciting stuff. I'm pretty pumped.
Plus, unless you're invested into Hertz, stocks always go up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, over time, if you're playing the long game, I mean, ask Warren Buffett, ask Tony Robbins. The typical long play for investment in building wealth is stay consistent, keep purchasing and keep buying and keep adding to your portfolio, handle your risk with your stocks. And over time, even if it crashes like it did in March, it's up farther than it was in February. So, over time, you will always win. Don't panic and sell stocks when the market starts slumping. Just gut it out, hang in there, because it'll not only bounce back, but it'll bounce back up and continue to go up. Since, the 30s, stock has consistently gone up for 100 years. So you just have to hang in there and not panic. And the panic traders that bail out in their long-term investments are the ones that lose their ass.
Yeah. Well, and I actually kind of wish we got into this in March when things were low. You know what I mean?
Man,
We
when
could
it
have
was
bought
like
up
ready to buy. Yeah.
Yeah, when everybody was freaking out, we'd be like, "Hey, well, we're not millionaires, so it's time to buy up some stock." But yeah, it's funny. Now that we both have a little bit of extra money here and there, we can actually do some stuff with it and hopefully have our money make money for us. It's the American dream. So
yeah, and
about that, man.
The good thing about the Stash app, for those that don't know, we use the Stash app, is they sell micro shares. So you can literally buy $10 of a $3,000 Amazon stock. And, you just get your small, minute micro share of it that is prorated, so it's a pretty sweet way to invest, and just stick with it and set up your auto funding. I think I got like $10 set up to automatically go into Apple on a set interval of time. So just these little things just to keep building wealth, something more than your 401k, because let's be honest, Scott, we cannot plan on a Social Security check at all at our age. And if it's there, fantastic. But we need to, of course, set ourselves up for retirement, anticipating that it's not going to be there.
Well,
so that we'll be safe.
Now that we're being honest, I've been purchasing children off of Wayfair. Is that too honest?
Have you been reselling them, or just been keeping them? Because it doesn't sound like a smart investment if you're just like...
They're pretty expensive. I got like a whole room full of them right now, and they chew up a lot of resources, Bob, and they're costing me a lot of money.
Yeah, meet me in the garage. I'll be right out there. Why do you have like 18 cabinets in your garage? It smells terrible.
Oh, that's just horrible, my friend. Well, in other news, Bob, I don't know about you. We talked about this on the show. I was pretty fired up to see old Iron Mike at age 53 or 54 go out with Roy Jones. It looks like that's going to be delayed, just like everything else in 2020. Now we have to wait till tentatively November. I can't even remember the date now.
Well, Scott, they are at risk. I mean, they're in their 50s.
I would say they're both in really good shape for their age, though, and they don't have any underlying respiratory type conditions, though. So
other than the gout.
Other than gout, yes. And we all know how
gout and like osteoarthritis.
Sure. And probably some form of brain damage, both of them, too, from getting hit in the head a lot.
Maybe a little bit of like osteoporosis.
Yeah.
Get in there. Mm-hmm. Is there any other stereotypical old people diseases that I'm forgetting about?
Arthritis.
I got that one. Check that one off.
Oh, they both have enlarged prostates too, of course.
Oh yeah, that's right. So they'll have to they have a pause in like the third round so they can go pee, and then again in the fourth round.
Well, even if
because they couldn't finish the third round.
every time they get a couple body blows, or oh shit, I couldn't empty my bladder earlier. Guys, pause real quick. Oh man, this is a really weird fight, but at least it gives them time to catch their breath, so that's nice. Gives a little bit more stamina throughout the fight.
My question is, who's going to build the handicap accessible entrance to the ring? Does it go around the ring, or is it just one long ramp?
I think for dramatic effect, it'd be really cool if it was going around the ring at a very slow incline, so you have to circle the entire ring before.
So Roy Jones coming up with his walker with tennis balls in the bottom, with Wu-Tang in the background, but it's like the whole first CD of the album forever because it takes him so long to get there. It's not an entrance song. We need you to pick your entrance album.
They gotta change the record halfway through the entrance. They're like, Jesus Christ.
Right. Today I'm gonna go with album 1 of The Wall. So by the time we get to Wish You Were Here, I'll be there.
Well, honestly, too, and in all seriousness, do you think this is going to affect the outcome of the fight versus having it in next month? It in September?
It'll just mean that they'll be in a little bit better shape than they would have been.
Yeah. Does it give anybody the edge, you think?
I think it doesn't give anyone the edge. I think it might give them both an opportunity to get a little bit more into actual boxing shape.
True. Now, the clock is ticking on their age, so I don't know how much, if you can keep things delayed forever and have them get more and more prepared. I mean,
right. By the time the fight comes, Tyson's going to be an AARP member.
Well, you know what? He can finally get that great deal for Denny's breakfast, though, that he's always wanted. So that's good.
You said I could have free parking.
That was pretty good, Bob. Not bad at all. Well, you know what? Speaking of somewhat aging athletes, too, my favorite team, which I think they have the best name in the business right now for football, the Washington football team, because that's creative. Old Alex Smith has been reactivated as an eligible QB to start. What do you think about that? Well,
it's been a long time coming.
Watch out, NFC East. The X-Skins are coming.
That's right. Here comes an exciting style of clock management and ball control that the fans have all been missing.
You like high-scoring games? Not anymore.
Right?
Oh, my.
You ready for a defensive battle? Here comes Alex Smith. So it'll be interesting. He's one of the better game managers in football, right? So he makes good decisions. He throws the ball away. He doesn't take risks. He does what you want from a quarterback. He can make all the throws. He's actually pretty, flight of foot. For his style, because he's a pocket passer, but when he wants to move, he's probably one of the most agile pocket passers out there, because I've seen that guy get after it when he does break the pocket.
Yeah, that's interesting that you brought that up too, because just like with any other athlete, when they suffer a Joe Theismann type injury to their leg, do you think his confidence mentally will be there to take off and run? Because just comparatively, and I can't even put him in the same category, but RG3, once he broke his leg in the 19th time or whatever it was, he was really hesitant to take off and run. I think same thing with Vic when he got hurt too. It looks like their confidence kind of just, I don't know, it kind of prevented them from really being that explosive on the run. So I wonder how much that's going to play into it, because that was a gruesome fucking injury, dude.
He might not take off as much. I think it's more about, since it happened in the pocket, I think it's more about his confidence and taking off too early and hanging in there. I think that's what it's going to be. Because I think once he gets out there, he uses the sidelines and he gets down and slides and avoids those hits. And he's always been a pretty good, smart quarterback when it comes to that. But it's will he be quick to pull the trigger or quick to throw the ball away or quick to take off and run instead of hanging in there that last second and making that throw and taking that hit? That'll be an interesting thing. I don't know. Confidence is a weird thing in sports. I mean, people literally have jobs where their whole degree is in sports psychology, to where they only work with people to get them over that hump mentally so that they can perform at a professional elite level again.
This is very true. This is very true. This is totally unrelated, but I just thought about pictures of him and everything. Have you seen his wife? Oh man, Jesus.
No,
Alex
but
Smith?
since he's a quarterback in the NFL, I'm sure she's a smoke show.
Yeah, totally. I could see why he rehabs so easily. So, she probably had him just, massaging in there, giving it the love. I think it's really amazing, though, to be honest with you, that he's back already. I mean, I think everybody thought, especially being over 30 when he got the injury, that this was career ending, dude. You know what I mean? Like, hands down. I was really excited this morning when I got my little alert from NFL, like, boom, he's back. I was like, no way. Wow. Sit down, Dwayne Haskins. Time to learn from somebody that knows how to do this.
Yeah, and what a great person to learn from.
Yeah.
So if Dwayne Haskins is going to have any chance of being a successful long-term quarterback, backing up Alex Smith for a couple of years is the way to do it.
I don't think he could ask for anything better. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, it's okay. Some of the best quarterbacks have had the opportunity to sit behind great quarterbacks.
Well, take for instance Aaron Rodgers. He
Right.
sat behind fucking Favre for a long time, dude. But it only did him well, to sit back there and watch him just fucking. Well, he's a gunslinger though, Favre. I wouldn't say he's one of the I guess he's one of the better quarterbacks out there in history, but he also threw a shitload of interceptions too. So there's that.
Yep, Steve Young sat behind Montana.
That's a good one right there.
So Tony Romo, he didn't sit behind a great quarterback, but he did sit and as a backup for like 4 or 5 years before he actually started playing. And
did he sit behind Bledsoe? Who the fuck did he sit behind? I can't remember.
There was a slew of quarterbacks before Romo.
Bledsoe was in there though, right? Before, like, after he left the Patriots.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. But just that whole, like, getting a chance to sit and watch and learn the playbook, learn how the team works, how the offense runs, game situations, and not being thrown in there. Not everyone's Patrick Mahomes. Right? Even Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for a year. So
this is true.
So naturally, since Dwayne Haskins is going to sit behind Alex Smith for a year, he's going to be the MVP in 3 years.
Obviously,
$500 million contract.
Obviously, is it me, or I think I've heard this from other people before? Have you heard Patrick Mahomes speak? Kind of sounds like Kermit the Frog. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't want to make fun of the guy too much, but he's got a very strange.
But you're gonna.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna, but he's got an unusual voice. I guess we'll leave it at that. You know what I mean? Kind of like Tim Duncan. Doesn't he sound like the whitest guy in the world? I'm jumping around all over sports right now, but hearing him talk, I was at least really surprised. I was like, wow, that's funny sounding.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've never really paid attention to Mahomes.
We'll get in there. Bob, you seem like a busy guy over there. Everything okay?
Well, my phone made a noise because I forgot to silence it because I'm super professional. So I silenced it. And then I realized I needed to crack another beer. So I cracked it. But I'm into it. I'm interested. I'm with it.
Yeah, well, with that, let's get you back engaged here because I don't know if Stiffies, if you listened to our last episode, Bobby owes Scott a nice bottle of Scotch, my friends, because
it's better than a bottle of bubbly.
Yeah. Well, as everybody probably knows, Joe Biden's pick is Kamala Harris. Don't say Kamala, for Christ's sakes. Don't fucking say that because you'll be a racist if you do. It's Kamala Harris. So, Bob, besides owing me, what did we talk about? A 12-year Glenlivet, right?
Yes.
Oh, by the way, you can actually get it for a discounted price right now if you go to Costco right away. They got it for like $37 instead of like $44. So go ahead and take care of that. Get you a little discount.
Yeah, but then there's am I allowed to ship that to you? Because isn't there some like alcohol shipping laws?
I think we talked about this. I think you got to like dangle it, as like a little teaser for me to come down to New Mexico. I thought that was the plan. Like, hey, I got you a bottle of Scotch whenever you get your happy ass down here and fucking like, leave your basement for once.
So the next time I send you a dick pic, send it with the bottle of Scotch in it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Good. Yeah.
Just like right in front of the bottle of Scotch. It'll be like that.
Hey, I mean, real quick about that, man. Were you surprised at all in the pick, or I mean, what are your thoughts in general?
I think it was a pretty obvious one. Didn't really surprise me. I don't know. There wasn't like there wasn't a ton of like old school like politicians to pick from. The knock on Kamala, it's hard to knock her as a politician. mean, you can knock her as a prosecution
Yes.
person
She-
all you want. Politicians don't prosecute. You can knock her, for whatever reason. But as far as a senator, she's only been a senator for almost 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like she has this huge record like Biden. I've been making votes since 45 years or something. You can go back and literally look at anything he's voted on and probably put it into some sort of spin and context of how you want to slant that and make a commercial out of it. You don't have those opportunities with Kamala.
True. I mean, they have already, which I know you know. The right's been doing a decent job of picking her apart as a prosecutor, but also just things she said recently. I mean, just to chat about her for a little bit here, I do find it interesting. Not that this is unusual in any way, shape, or form for any kind of politician, but she has tended to change her stance on things depending on what is important at the time and what people want to hear, which again is not really unusual. I'm not really going to put her in her own little category or isolate her for that.
I think she's the only one that's ever done that.
You may be right. All I know is Joe Biden invented that form of being a politician. But no, the one thing that did stick out to me, I was like, well, that's a little bit shady. I got to bring this up too because I thought it was pretty funny. I think this was during the Democratic primaries when she was asked about lowering the voting age to 16. And she said that the demographic from 16 to whatever was, very important. And, just to have more people that could have a political voice would be very, very beneficial to the country. Yada, 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 yada. Basically, she was sucking the proverbial dicks of the younger kids, right? Anyways, then they show a clip from her from 2015 when she's speaking. And the first thing that she says is, what do you know about, 16 to 21-year-olds? They're dumb. They're stupid. And it's like, I just kind of went on. I was like, huh. Well, that was an interesting kind of complete 180 stance there. But again, I don't know if it was taken out of context. I didn't hear the rest of the speech or the questions that were being asked, but it did seem like a polar opposite of what she had said before. Does that put her on her own little island again? No, we know it doesn't. So it is interesting. I'm looking forward to the next few months, and I really am actually looking forward to Pence and Harris. I'm really looking forward.
Me too.
And here's the thing. We've talked about this before. Pence has kind of been like a mysterious guy behind the scenes for a lot of stuff. And it might be my ignorance. Maybe I just didn't pay attention during the 2016 election too much, because it was so focused. You know what I mean? It was really, really focused on Hillary and Trump, rightfully so. Probably two of the worst candidates in history. But at the same time, I don't remember hearing Pence speak, Pence debate. It's something I just don't remember. And I saw him the other day responding to his thoughts about the VP pick with Kamala Harris. And he had a lot to say about it, dude. And I was like, wow, okay, here he comes. Very colorful, very animated, getting excitable. And I was like, this is a brand new Pensy. Again, going to the gay bars.
Is that the one where he said that he's going to save the meat?
I think so. I think, yeah. Well, and that makes sense. It's funny that you said that. I was just going to get into him talking about saving meat and other way, shapes, or form when he's at the gay bars. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think this might be, because we both know that Joe Biden and Trump are just going to spit off incoherent and sentence fragments at each other and try to just take low blows.
It's going to be like two old guys in a nursing home, fighting to go bang one of these old ass ladies, right? And they're going to be arguing about why each other deserves it more.
Or the younger Jamaican nurse that, changes their bedpans every day. You know what I mean? Maybe that's a little bit more accurate, but you're absolutely right. That's going to be kind of it's almost like this. I see kind of the presidential debate between the two presidential candidates being kind of comical and silly. And then it's like, okay, guys, now sit down for a little bit while the people that are probably going to run the country this next go around talk about things. You know what I mean? It'll be interesting, man. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I think that because of the age of both of these candidates, I think a lot of people are going to be watching the vice presidents because never before have we had to worry about next in line so much as we do right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump's brother died yesterday, right, of an undisclosed fucking illness.
Hey, good old Bobby Trump. R.I.P., buddy.
Trump's dad died 12 years ago or whatever it was, I think in the late 20 aughts, from dementia, right? So Alzheimer's. So there's concern there about, where are you at now, right? And we've already kind of talked about that on previous shows. I'm not going to hash that up. And then we've all watched Biden, and he's no young pup either, right? So we know that both of these guys, you can watch them at any given speech and kind of go off, and you kind of look in their eyes, and they lose track of what the fuck they were talking about, or even the question that they were asked. Or it's fucking genius from both of them to make you think that they lost track to avoid answering the question.
Exactly. Well,
maybe
this is
there's
interesting
that.
too. That's an interesting concept too, and it's good to point out because I've done that before, where I'm getting really excitable and I lose my train of thought, and I just like, what was I talking about?
Yeah,
To my credit, though, I'm usually multiple drinks in and maybe a lot of marijuana in too. So to watch two politicians, Trump now is a legitimate politician, literally drop the ball and just draw up a blank fucking sign, like right out of the gate. It is pretty interesting. And the other thing is this too, like nobody's really, I mean, they're obviously pointing out the age of Biden because he looks like he's losing it a little bit more when he goes off the cuff. Let's just face it. Maybe Trump's just got more rehearsed, cards in his pocket for every situation that he gets asked, so he can just read stuff. I don't know what it is, but they really focus on his dementia, whatever, like on set or slow, what have you. But they really picked apart, if you remember, John McCain for being way too old for the job, and he was only 71, right?
He was sharp until the day he died.
Yeah. He was on point. They did the same thing for Reagan for his second term, and he was still like in his early 70s. These guys are what, 73 and like 77 or something like that?
I think 70. Let me look.
I got to fact check that. Here, you look up Trump, I'll look up Biden.
Yeah, cool.
Same page.
Trump age.
And why
Trump
Bob's
is
doing that?
74.
Okay. Biden is fucking 77. You know what I mean? So both of them not young pups. So again, just highlighting and emphasizing that we really, and this is the first time I think, like you said, we have to take the VP debates and the VP picks very seriously. I don't even remember giving a fuck about VPs for a long time.
No, because you look at Obama and Romney, like they're going to be fine,
Honestly, dude, I don't even remember who the fuck Romney's VP pick was. I don't even remember. That's how inconsequential it was. You know what I mean? I'm sure I would have remembered back in the time. I don't remember who John Kerry's was. I don't remember.
John Edwards.
Oh, John
Remember, because he had that separate family that they found out after the election that he had a dual life.
Yeah, he also the guy that was getting like $1,000 haircuts and shit like that. I remember him now. But see, without you pointing that out, again, it was just something that you're like, okay, yeah, that's his running mate. No big fucking deal, right? And I don't think it's ever been as pivotal to focus in on it.
Bush 43. Nope, no one cared about that. Even though we know. But and then again, Clinton was a decent age. So it really hasn't. I can't think of a time that the vice president has been so relevant before to most of us, regardless of which party you're at, because even if you're Republican and you think that Trump is the most sharp guy ever, then you're concerned about Biden, right?
Yeah.
Or you could be the other way around. So or there's their own parties that are all, our guys getting up there, on both sides, because they just fucking are, man. They're old.
And I think the only, let's face it too, Sarah Palin was in the headlines all the time, but that was because she was fucking crazy and stupid. But that was the
see Russia from her house.
Well, she probably can, you know what I mean? But no, that was her thing. I think
because the earth's flat. So
we'll get into that in a little bit, won't we? I love that guy. Oh, he's like, see, you can see Seattle right there. I was like, yeah, that's only a couple miles away, dude.
You're in Vancouver, dumbass.
Of course you can see fucking skyline of tall-ass buildings, you moron. Anyways, I digress. We'll get into that. But no, I think the only reason why she was important at the time, let's face it, a couple of things. Yeah, the first African-American presidential candidate. That was obviously losing a lot of steam for the GOP, right? Just because of that progressive type movement. And don't get me wrong, I think it's very awesome that we've had a black president in the sense of that movement of race not just being old white guys. You know what I mean? But they had to counter the ticket on the other side to try to make it equally impressive. So, You got a woman in there, right? And I think the other reason why it was very important too is there was a lot of people talking about McCain's age. So bring in somebody that's younger in case she has to come up too. But I still think the only reason she was in the conversation is because she was so controversial, not really that they were actually worried that McCain was not sound of mind or had dementia or things like that. That was really just the left trying to pick fun at him a little bit by calling him old and stuff like that. So,
well, and only because their candidate wasn't, right?
He was.
You see these days, there's it's hard to throw stones about age in this election.
Yeah, you really can't, dude. I mean, they're both not young. They're both well into their second decade of being AARP members. You know what I mean?
They're both like 10 years retired.
Really, sit the fuck down already.
For real.
I've said it before, but both him and Trump, go get in that rocking chair, nice blanket, watching Price is Right, nice bowl of warm soup. You know, that's what they should be doing right now, enjoying their golden years.
That's right. Go yell at each other, whether you're going to watch CNN or Fox News tonight and who gets the remote control. That's the way it should be.
I can see Trump too. That's my remote control. It's always been my remote control. I have the best remote control handling skills in the business. You've never seen anybody flip channels like me. Never.
I don't know, like the cable guy. You're just back there.
Oh, dude, he's a fucking champ with that thing. And then he moves the lamp a little bit too to get the noisy picks and hum bars off the screen.
That's right. That's right.
He's like, I hope you don't mind. I rearranged a few things. I was like, yeah, I do mind, you fucking creepy bastard. But anyways, I'm going to shut it down a little bit here. Bob, I know you opened up a second beverage here, but...
Oh, was that premature? Did you not have a second beverage? I should have checked first.
No, I didn't, but it's okay because I'm saying what I'm going to say. If you'd shut it down for just 2 seconds, let's go get a stiff drink. What do you think?
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
All right, sounds good.
Cheers, Scotty.
Oh, cheers all the way. Cheers to your tits.
Cheers for fears.
Oh, that's a great band.
Cheers for beers.
Recline that thing all the way back. Pour yourself a nice little bottle of bubbly.
Hey, Bub.
Hey, sugar tits.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Things are going good when you need to add 2 additional coasters.
Ooh, yeah, they are.
By the way, remember those coasters that came in?
I do.
Yeah. Sad times.
Oh, you know what? One of mine got broke too. So they're ceramic. So what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Fucking shit.
Other than that, though, they're fantastic coasters.
They are nice. Very nice. Bob?
Oh, you wanna see what I'm doing here? Yours is so much bigger than mine. You must have went with the double.
No, I just added a full glass of ice. It was just
okay.
sippy.
Ooh. It is definitely a sipper.
Ooh, it's good though, dude. And I got to tell everybody right now, Stiffies, if you hey, I like that. Can you do that in the microphone? Shake that glass. Yeah, that sounds nice, Stiffies. And I have to apologize. I don't feel I dropped the ball. I just didn't think it would be that impressive to put the drink on Facebook or Instagram when we were doing research yesterday. It doesn't look like much. But it's a great drink. Everybody today.
It looks like a glass of scotch.
It really does. It looks like a glass of scotch. Same thing with a rusty nail. Today we are doing Italian Stallions, everybody. And quite frankly, we both just really like the name. And then when we saw what was in it, we're like, whoa, that sounds like a rusty nail, like Italian style. So,
which we all know is a Stiff Truth favorite.
Yeah, it definitely is, my friend. It's a dank, stiff drink. So what is an Italian Stallion is we got a shot, or like I do, you're right, I do doubles. So 2 shots of blended Scotch in a ½ ounce of Galliano. Everybody might remember Galliano from a couple of weeks ago when we made the good old Harvey Wallbangers. Hey, you know what? That's becoming a Castle Nova House favorite over here, the Harvey Wallbangers too.
The Wallbangers.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bob, you had this drink a few days ago before I did, and I was like, how'd you like it? And you're just like, it tastes like a rusty nail. I have to disagree with you a little bit. I think that this one is a little sweeter than a rusty nail. I think it's got a little bit of a sweeter aftertaste. I really think it's the difference of Drambuie and Galliano, obviously. But let me ask you this. what do you like more?
I think I'm leaning towards the Galliano. I know.
Yeah. For anybody not watching YouTube channels, I just raised my hands like an idiot and gave him some pumps. But I agree, dude. I think
I
this
thought it
one
looked like Rocky.
Yeah.
Italian stallion himself.
Well, and honestly, we talked about this too. It's like, do we save this drink for when we talk about the Rocky movies? But honestly, everybody out there knows, and this is just a very free, stiff truth for everybody. But Rocky 4 is the best Rocky movie, hands fucking down. Dolph Lundgren's the pimp of any antagonist of all the movies. Case fucking close. But we wanted to save this for talking about Sly, but we'll just have to drink these in honor of Sly. So this is for you, Sly.
And it's not to say that we can't have them again.
This is true. This is very true. I'll tell you what thing, though, is pretty sad, though, guy. And by the way, I have no fucking idea about the history of this drink. I literally just think it's a spin-off of a Rusty Nail kind of deal, and I really think that's
Next I'm going to try Jaeger.
Why not?
Scotch and Jaeger. Yep.
Hey, throw it in any kind of floral, kind of licorice type liqueur. I bet you could just mix it with Scotch, and it's going to have some kind of similar taste to the Rusty Nail, the Italian stallion. You know what I mean? So there's that. But it's a damn good cocktail, dude. It's a damn good cocktail. I had a couple of them the other night. I want to say Friday night, and then I had, as I told you, man, I'll tell you guys, our conspiracy topic this week is kind of rough, guys. But I'll tell you what, I had a few of them during our research yesterday for the conspiracy topic, and I'm a fan. The thing that's sad, bro, because I am a bit of a cheapskate, is my Galliano. I don't know about yours. It's getting low, dude. It's getting low.
It has to at some point.
Yeah, it's not impressive right now, and it's making me a little sad. Like, I was just making up the cocktails right there. I was like making sure I was just pouring at the half ounce mark. I was like, oh, that's too much. Put that back in the bottle. You know what I mean, dude?
You're going to have to buy that great looking bottle again.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. The other thing I noticed too, and it was so funny. I got pissed off about it yesterday. I was analyzing the bar. I'll take a picture for you in the Stiffies. It's getting fucking beefy with the amount of booze I have in there.
It's the top of my fridge is just stacked now.
Yeah. Like, dude, my entire countertop is covered in different booze and mixers, and even like fucking gallon things of club soda and diet tonic water and all this shit. It's all over the place. I got like a 24 pack of seltzers and shit up there for like mixing.
Now, having said that, I bet the wife loves that.
She does, actually. She really does. It's fun, dude, because literally, after a long day, especially on the weekends, we literally go down to the bar now. We're like, what to have. And I almost have to like start looking up drinks again, because I literally have that many different liqueurs and boozes now. I'm like, what should I make? Just flipping pages in my little bartender black book. It's great, dude. So, it is fun. It is fun.
So my wife was asking me the other day, she's like, hey, I want a drink, making me a drink. And I'm like, anything? She's like, yeah, anything. Just make it taste good. Okay. Because, for those that don't know, she's a vodka and a flavored water kind of a gal. That's kind of her go-to. So I went ahead and went along with that theme, but I made her a gin and tonic with a twist.
Ooh.
Right. A little bit of sweetened lime juice in there. She loved it, right? And then later, I was drinking homemade whiskey sours, fresh squeezed lemons, awesome whiskey sours. And then she's like, I want one of those. And I made her one. She's like, this is so good. And she's not a Scotch drinker or a whiskey drinker. So it's nice being able to just whip something up that's pleasing even to those that might not have such a hardcore liquor palate, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you said that too. Like the other night, I was getting a little bit bored with what I was having, because I was literally just making vodka seltzers. That's kind of a go-to to mine when I don't really feel like getting creative or what have you. I did, and I'm sure it's a drink. But I had no idea. I was like, you know what? I want to use some of the rum in that pineapple juice. What do I do? So I got a dark rum, and I got a light rum, a little bit of both of those, some pineapple juice. It was fantastic. 2 different types of rum, pineapple juice. Boom, bam. But yeah, just having fun with that. I'm sure it's some kind of cocktail. I'm not sure what the fuck it is. I'm sure I could look it up and see. But getting a little bit experimental too is what I'm trying to say. That's kind of fun. Just kind of mixing things up back there, see what happens. You know what I mean?
Well, and even now, I think we're at the point to where we kind of know how things taste. and parts of everything. So we can kind of throw some things together and offset and do some things with different liqueurs and flavors and know pretty much how that's going to taste. So,
Well, and I've said it before too. The show is making us right now. I won't get semi-amateur pro mixologist. You know, we're getting there, bro. We're getting there. So
yeah, it's
kinda fun.
definitely a positive byproduct. I can assure you.
Cheers to that, my friend. Cheers to that. Another little sippy sip. Oh yeah, that's a fine fucking drink right there. Good.
So I will grab your bottle of scotch the next time I go to the store and have it sitting here. I'll send you a nice picture. Actually, I'll post it on Facebook.
Good.
Just so that everyone knows. A bet made, a bet paid.
That's right. That's one thing about a West that you know is they always pay their debts, right?
That's right.
So that's
right.
good.
We're like Lannisters.
I'm glad you caught on to that one. Very good, very good.
Unless you're a healthcare provider. then it takes a little longer.
Well, I'll tell you what,
I don't
Bobby,
feel like I'm alone there.
No. But you know what, dude? Why don't you go ahead and roll out the nice conspiracy theory music that you have on the Rolodex? Conspiracy theories.
So,
Well,
go ahead.
No, get in it. I'm going to let
All
you
right,
take
so-
this one, buddy.
We've had some fairly hardcore topics the last few weeks, whether it be the
Yes.
conspiracy theories or the stiff truths. We wanted to break it up a little bit and try to chase after something that's a little bit more lighthearted, a little fun. So today we're going to be talking about how the earth is flat.
Because it is, right?
Obviously, the science proves it.
Yeah, I was busting out my equations on the whiteboard yesterday. I was like, there it is. Of course it's fucking flat, you moron round earthers.
Did it say 1 + 1 = flat?
It said 1 + 1 = 3.5.789 or something or other.
Depending
Yeah,
on if you carried the 1.
depending. That was always a big thing. Yeah, and I got to tell the Stiffies this too. We literally kind of went into this topic not knowing too much about flat Earth society, right? Not knowing too much about this faction of people, and we said, you know what? Let's make this really fun, and let's go into the show, and let's try to prove this theory right. Like, let's literally like put on the lens from their view, put ourselves in these flat earther shoes and say, you know what? There's got to be some validity to this. There's got to be something behind this. There's got to be some truth because, goddamn, there's a lot of people that back this movement. There's a lot of people that back this movement. I mean, they have a fucking
Like tens or hundreds of thousands.
seriously. That's a lot of people, man. And like that convention that they have now, I guess yearly in North Carolina, like the Flat Earth International fucking.
We should go. We should absolutely go, dude.
It's the Flat Earth International Conference. The first one was in 2017. So, interestingly enough, but yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, Bob. I'm going to turn it back over to you for a minute here because we watched a very well done documentary, meaning quality value of the documentary. But Bob, your thoughts?
Oh, oy vey. Right?
Wow, you just turned Jewish. That's how much.
No. Like I had to go like make a brisket and get in there. This thing.
Bagels and briskets.
For real. I had a brisket bagel sandwich. It's crazy.
Having a kosher dill as a side.
So my sideburns literally grew out 3 inches watching this movie. So
that's impressive, Bob, because you don't have a lot of facial hair. So
I know. I had to get the curler out. So beyond all of the, Jewish remarks, the documentary at first, I went in like a real open mind. I'm like, oh, I'm really good to see like their science and how they like really justified this and like their movement.
right,
And
there's
even-
got to be something, right? There's got to be something.
And we'd even had a meeting, said, Scott, let's see if we can go into this on the other side and try to prove these guys' point and prove it right. And it quickly became impossible for me to stay on that side of the fence. There's no data to back up this, for lack of a better term, this theology that they have. And I think that's a pretty accurate depiction because there comes a point in time where they're right because they're right and because you're wrong and because of fucking magic.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
um, so what I have found is that this movement is more about camaraderie
Yes.
and belonging and a sense of community than it is about any sort of, hypothesis, driven theories. There is no math. They didn't even like bother to try to get someone to produce math for this. And let's be honest, everything in science as far as astronomy goes started off before we had telescopes to see.
Yeah.
All of astronomy started off with math.
Yeah, imagine that. I mean, I know it's the enemy of this movement, but I mean, math, I think, kind of explains almost everything in the world, like everything out of the world too. I'll just go ahead and say that. Now, I want to dial it back for just a moment here, because there was one thing, and I think it was the astrophysicist chick with the pink hair or whatever at Caltech. Do you remember her? That had like the nose ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. She was entertaining this and said, well, that is interesting. Like there was one thing that really got Mark Sargent and a couple of these other original people on board. I'm not even going to talk about the guy. I did write his name down though. Matt Boylan, or Math Powerman, he liked to go by. That's the guy from, the ex-NASA dude that started all this. But there was something about watching the flight patterns on the radars or whatever, and how they wouldn't go further south than a certain point or further north. Do you remember that? Because that was supposed to be what kind of kick-started Mark Sargent's obsession with this. And I just don't remember what the fuck had to do with anything. Like they never went past Antarctica or something like that, so that was the thing? Or what was that again? Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was with the flight patterns either. But I do know that planes won't go so far north and so far south from a physics aspect. There's something about the cold and the temperature that's not good for the plane itself. So they do stay below a certain latitude. But they do, like, say, if you're going to England or whatever, you're more likely to go farther north because it cuts down on your A to B, right? It cuts down on your direct line, and it shaves that time versus just circumnavigating laterally over there, right? So there's something along sometimes going farther north or going farther south. It cuts down your travel time. But obviously, that's the quickest way is the way that they're going to go. But I can't remember off the top of my head why he thought that was so significant and jumped right into, well, they're not doing that because there must not be Earth there.
I think that was honestly it, because if you look at the I guess the model that he was referencing, like on the outer edges of the flat Earth, which I think was still funny that the Earth from above, from an aerial view, is still round, but it's just flat. I like that. I think that was kind of cute. I thought that was kind of cute. But it shows like this ice like barrier layer on the edges. You know what I mean? Like almost like a trim, like ice trim or whatever. And that is the poles, right? Which makes sense, because if you flatten out the Earth as a picture, like we look at maps and everything, that would be correct. That would be correct, that the Arctics would be like on the edges around everything the way we're looking at it. However, I think that was his point he was trying to make, is like, see, look, they never go past this. And I almost think he was looking for this, like a plane to be going down like in South America, and then to pop up like on North America, on the Arctic front, like it flew over. But like you just said, there's reasons why people do not fly over the poles if they don't have to. That's just what they don't do for safety reasons. But I think that was his idea. Is like, look at this. They don't leave these areas because there is nothing beyond that, or something of that nature. I don't know. But again, it wasn't really ever put to the test. And there's almost nobody, and we'll say this too, there's almost nobody credible in the flat Earth society, meaning there's almost nobody that is a physicist, an astronomer, even a fucking professor that would come out and say anything about this. To them, that's part of the conspiracy, right? They can't be outed from their own profession, like fessing up that this is true.
No, because the explanation that was at least in the documentary from the flat earther community is that no scientist or mathematician will come out against education, because then they'll be shunned and they'll never be able to work in, academia again, right?
Oh.
Because they'll be going against the conspiracy known as math and science that has been going on for years to convince people of the global Earth agenda.
Right. Because there's a lot of stake. Apparently, we talked about this before the show. I still can't put my finger on it. But apparently the government is making a lot of money and fooling a lot of people with this whole round Earth nonsense. And so they keep perpetuating this conspiracy of round Earth because they have so much stake in it. Correct?
Right, because it's so lucrative to trick everyone about the shape of the Earth. Because just telling someone that the Earth is round, you get $10 put into PayPal every time you tell someone that. So that's where they're making all of their money.
I got a shitload of money in PayPal too. I'll tell you that right now, bro.
I am joking, but for real, that is the belief, is that math and science are part of the conspiracy. So I was talking to Jess about this when I was watching the show, and I was just like, so their belief is math and science is a government conspiracy globally of several governments, whatever, about the flat Earth versus round Earth ideology. Okay, let's wind it on back. Let's go back 500 years. Sorry, like 470 years. Galileo proposed.
I like how you get so precise on that. You didn't like rounding up, did you? Bring it back down to reality here. Good job, Bob.
So Galileo proposed that the Earth is not the center of the universe, because back then the solar system was the universe, right? They didn't know. They didn't have Hubble telescopes. So that it's not the center of the universe, and that the sun is actually the center of the universe. And he made a model, and all of the known planets at the time, which I think there was only 5 or 6. I think they knew Saturn, but that was about it.
About as far as they could see in there.
Exactly.
Because they did have telescopes then, but they weren't very powerful.
Barely. Galileo invented, well, sort of. He didn't invent the telescope. Some other person did, but then he made it to where it was useful as a scientific way.
Don't be silly. We know Joe Biden invented the telescope. We know that to be true.
That's true. So he was the ghostwriter for the patents.
Oh, JoJo, get in there.
Galileo, obviously, we all know the story, right? Well, and if we don't all know the story, here's the story. So Galileo got ostracized from the church for a heretic, right? Because the Earth has to be the center of the universe because of why? Because God. And that was their whole reason. You're a heretic. We're going to kill you if you don't, take that back, right? So they forced him to actually take back his words and was like, fuck it, I'll just die like that, right? Well, then Nicholas Copernicus came around about 60, 70 years later in the 1600s and then proved this, right?
I feel like I should be getting out a notebook and some paper right now.
So he proved that Earth was not the center of the universe, even more so, right? And it wasn't until I don't even know, 20 years ago, if that, the Catholic Church actually formally apologized to Galileo 500 years later. So,
I'm glad they did, because he was in the corner with a really shitty, somebody shit in my cereal kind of face for the past 400 years too.
The lineage of his family was still living in shame. So all right, so there's that, right? So now we've proved, and this wasn't about the Earth being flat, because in both models they still believed the Earth was flat. I still don't think that they thought the Earth was round yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or there's heavy argument and debate about it still, even though Magellan was circumnavigating the globe and all of that. But it was all about where's the center, what revolves around what, right? And so that was a huge breakthrough. So what they're saying now is the flat earthers are back to things revolve around the Earth again. Mm-hmm. So there's that other theory that the sun and the moon revolve around the Earth again. So that thing that was proven 400 years ago, they're bringing it back. They're bringing it back. They're getting it into style. It's like Bell Bottoms, baby.
Yeah, I was about to say, I always like when old styles come back. Vinyl's back in action. The Earth is Flat is back in action, and New Kids of the Block are doing a tour again. So yeah, it's everything kind of comes. It's cyclical, right? So here we go.
So the long story, a little less long, is
I was
that
about to say I'm getting sleepy over here.
Is that the argument for math and science being a conspiracy against the round earth agenda would literally mean that they would have to take math and science back to like the Greeks as starting this conspiracy of math and science, so that one day when the flat earthers come around, we will have this conspiracy to fight them to prove the earth is round.
Jesus.
When at the time everyone knew for a fact it was flat.
It's well, and here's the other thing, man. I mean, I really didn't want to beat this conspiracy up like a like a little stepchild or anything like that, but we have to a certain extent, because I get it, and you had mentioned it before to me, and just watching this documentary. And I'm not going to sit here and call anybody stupid except for flat earthers, I guess, but they're kind of not
But
the
not
sharp,
any one flat earther, just all.
as a group, as a
Okay, good.
collective, as
Okay.
a collective.
I just
You know
want to
how
make sure you're degrading the people as a whole.
you know how groupthink is, you know what I mean? And you know how people
Sure.
act in large groups anyways. A person is, I think George Carlin said it the best when he said, like, a person is smart, people are stupid. But no, seriously, what I noticed is the ridiculousness of this entire theory is rooted in camaraderie, like you said, and a
Yes.
common bond. And I think that's what perpetuated the movement back into, let's call it, superstardom kind of for a few years. And it I don't think it could have been done 30, 40 years ago. I think you need the internet for this to happen. You know what I mean? Because when he started, Mark Sargent started, and Mark Sargent, if nobody knows, he's kind of the guy that took this project and became like almost the quasi godfather, cult leader of the movement, however you want to see it. But his YouTube channel,
We need him on our PR.
we do.
staff.
We really do. Yeah, he did a great job, dude. Yeah, like I think it was just ridiculous. But what really kind of struck me is, okay, I get this, is all of these people, some of them did have higher education. I will kind of take it back what we said before the show. Some of them did have it, but they all had the mindset of extreme distrust for authority and government. So that was like number one that I saw. That was the first commonality that everybody kind of hooked onto. Is like, the government's always lying to us. They're always trying to pull the wool over our eyes about everything. There's got to be a reason why, all this is going on, and I'm going to find it out, God damn it, right? This kind of mentality. So that was kind of number one. The other thing that I noticed too is all these people were also very religious, meaning Judeo-Christian kind of religion, which kind of makes sense, because that puts us back, like you were saying, and with how they discredited Galileo, right? It's like, no, because of God, right? No, because of God. So that kind of gave them another commonality, is everybody was pretty religious. And then the other thing too is all of these people, every fucking conspiracy that we've talked about and that we haven't even mentioned yet, they were hardcore believers in everything. Chemtrails, reptilian overlords, anti-vaxxers, you name it. You know what I mean? And that was something else that was a resounding kind of commonality between everybody. So you get all that together, and let's face it, bud, you have those kind of people. You remember the documentary yesterday. A lot of these guys that were...
I can remember yesterday.
Good for you. Good for you, Bobby.
I must not be running for president.
Woo! Come on, Christ! Is this thing on? Let's go. No, but you're absolutely right. But what I'm trying to say is, you put all these things together and you have a recipe for a person that's not that likable, right? And I if you remember yesterday too, which I know you do because you've got recall, a lot of the guys that were in this movement that were at that meeting in Denver, they had this like little fire pit in Denver or whatever. He's like, my wife divorced me. My family doesn't talk to me anymore. That was kind of a resounding thing too. I was like,
well, I was dating these two guys, but then they found out that I believed in flat earth, and then they didn't want to date me anymore.
Yeah. Because good for these guys. They saw that as the ultimate red flag, and they got out before it was too late, before they woke up with their penises cut off. But no, see, again, all kidding aside, that was kind of the thing, is they all had this together, and they were all kind of outcast. I don't know if you remember the black guy that was talking at the convention or whatever.
Very articulate, bright guy.
Yeah, very articulate, bright guy. But he also said that he was always felt like an outsider, like he didn't belong anywhere. Right. So boom, my head popped when I was watching. It's like, okay, I get this. This gives all these people a sense of belonging. They all have a common belief system that are rejected by their friends and family on a whole in general. And that's why they they binded together so strongly, in my mind, and they perpetuated this movement, and it gave them something to live for lack of a better, phrase or what have you. So that's really what it all is. And like you said, they discredit everything that doesn't kind of go with the flow. And that was the other thing that I thought was very funny. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but it's the guy that was he worked in Denver and Lyman and a couple other places.
Guy.
Yeah, the big guy that was an engineer. I mean, this guy was actually a legit engineer and did like the entire information technology department for the city of Lyman and blah, blah, blah. He was also a forensic investigator for the Denver Police Department, shit like that. I was like, this guy's got some chops. But he's the one that said, okay, now I'm not going to get too far into this because it'll get kind of boring, but the curvature of the earth and the spinning of the earth, right? So they did a test with, I'm going to look this up because I wrote it down because I wanted to remember it. The gyroscope, right? They got a gyroscope, like a ring laser gyroscope to test to see, okay, if the earth is spinning, if it's on an axis and curving at this speed or whatever, then we can use this machine. And somebody bought it for $20,000. You remember that? One of their poor fucking saps bought it for $20,000. But what will
I don't
happen?
need a car. Instead, I'm going to buy this gyroscope device. It sounds legit.
Yeah, and it sounds like it should be a sex toy or something like that, but it is not a sex toy. But yeah, long story short, if the earth is curving and rotating like it says, like they say, the government, then there'll be a 15-degree drift on this machine, right? So if not, then boom, flat earthers win. So they tested it, they got out the machine, boom, bam, there was a 15-degree drift, just like they would say. For 1 hour of rotation would be 15 degrees, and boom, right on the fucking money, 15 degrees. And like, well, that's not good, right? They're like, oh shit. I kind of just foot and mouth for the whole theory. So like, no, wait, we're going to try something else. We're going to encase it in something. And I can't remember what they encased it in first. They went as far as put it into a bismuth chamber, right? Like almost like a very dense material. And again, they kept testing it. They kept getting the 15 degrees of drift. So proving that the earth is fucking round and that it's fucking spinning at the exact speed that people have said for close to 100 or more years now. So, but again, I don't remember, the Dunning-Kruger effect or something like that? Even when you're presented with facts, right, that contradict your beliefs, you're still going to look for other things, like even how abstract and far out they are, that support your theory. So they just kept going with this. So not only is there no scientific or mathematical basis for the theory, is it's been disproven multiple times by the own flat earthers, and they just push it to the side because it doesn't fit with their dream and it would destroy their little group that they have.
Now, I just want to point out that flat earthers aren't the only one that have to deal with this phenomenon that you just spoke of, because we see it all the time in politics.
Oh, and we see it in other conspiracy theories, right? Like we talked about this a while ago. We didn't use the terminology like this. I was just regurgitating what one of the psychiatrists said on the documentary. But yeah, if you look for something and you believe in something, you will find things that loosely or very pointedly will back up your theory and make you valid.
Yeah, and at the same time, disregard things that will disprove it.
Yeah. Oh, and just throw it away. It's like, well, that's just the hocus pocus mathematics, or something like that.
Yeah. So another thing along with the conspiracy theories is a lot of these folks are very religious, right? So that gives them a door opening to believe in the mythical, right? I know, but it does. So there's a little bit more of that, and I will agree with you that the camaraderie, I mean, man, I don't want to sound pompous or just like throw blankets over sacks of people, but these aren't exactly the prom king and queen of high school. Like these kids, these kids grew up
what an interesting thing for you to pick out the prom king.
I'm just saying that they seem to be sharing similarities of not having a lot of friends. Yes. Being social outcasts, kind of growing up and fitting that mold that, I'm glad they found flat earth instead of, people to kill, because they also fit the mold of a serial killer.
There's that silver lining. At least they put into something we'll call somewhat constructive, right? Instead of
Yeah, there's a lot of antisocial kind of weird behaviors that they all kind of exhibited. And I hate to like use they all like it's a blanket thing, but you could definitely tell that there's a longing for camaraderie and a longing for belonging to something bigger than them. And that really draws them in, similar to a cult.
Very similar, like a very non-threatening cold for sure. Sorry,
So,
that was a fruit fly I was just knocking away from my head.
oh, I thought you were just making grand gestures.
I do that. So I am Italian, so I do talk with my hands.
I talk with my hands, and I don't know why. So I don't know why I just like stereotype you as Mario, but while I'm stereotyping everyone, Jews, Italians, flat earthers, might as well just get in there.
You want to go ahead and say something about Hispanics and blacks too while we're at it? I mean, this is your show, baby. This is your
give me time. I'll circle back.
This is your coming out party, buddy.
So what I found is flat earthers are less of the search for knowledge and the search for scientific as they are the search for belonging and camaraderie and something bigger than them and something that they can have of their own. So I believe it's more of a feeling and almost like a religion. It's almost like
I've got a feeling. Yeah.
So sorry to I can't prove the flat earth theory. Every turn I made at the documentary, I needed another drink. I think you were in the same boat. It was kind of a hard watch, even though the documentary itself was very high quality, very well done, and a very good documentary.
Yeah, it was very well done documentary, and I have to say this. I think the documentary was done to disprove it. You know what I mean? The way they ended it, and I'll tell the Stiffies this just so everybody knows: flat Earth is bullshit. This is the stiff truth of it all. Okay, the Earth is fucking round. We are a small piece of a solar system with other planets that are also fucking round, around a round sun that we all orbit around. And the best thing was at the very end when they did the laser test, right? When they said, okay, look, and this was the thing, 3.8 miles, which is a good enough distance, right? 3.8 miles, they're going to have a laser shooting this way. They're going to go 3 miles down the road, shoot a laser this way. There's going to be a spot in the middle that's all at the same height. I think it was 7 feet that they chose, 7 or 8 feet. And if the Earth is flat, they should be able to shoot this goddamn laser through all 3 points, and they should be at the very same height or very similar height, almost identical, and that would prove that the Earth is flat. And they did it twice, and each time the guy could not see the laser on the other end unless he raised his height in the middle, right? In the middle, he had to raise it or lower or whatever. Either way, it disproved it again twice at the very end, and that's how they kind of like closed.
And it went
the
to
scene.
credits.
Yeah, then it closed. And last thing is like, well, that's interesting. That's really interesting. What? That this is all fucking bullshit? Like for the 10th time throughout the show that's been disproven. So
and pretty soon, the person that spent $20,000 on that stupid laser or the gyroscope or whatever, they can just pay Virgin Atlantic, tens of thousands of dollars, and they'll take them up there.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's opening like next year.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, you know what, dude? Elon Musk just needs to grab these dumb fucks and put them in a fucking one of his car jets, shoot them up into the fucking upper atmosphere. Like, do you see that? Do you see that? That is a round Earth. Isn't that cute?
Well, and
All
we
right.
saw it too when the two astronauts went to the space station for the first
Fake
time
news,
in a
Bob.
space age.
Fake news. Fake news.
Well,
Fake
that
news.
camera was walleye. Well,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't because
Your
the space
brain is
never
walleye.
changed. Yes, your perspective is walleye. Over your brain.
Sorry, flat earthers. We tried, bro. We really did go into this with a very optimistic, objective outlook, but it's bullshit. As we said, this is a weaker conspiracy than even Paul McCartney dying in 1967, which is pretty tough to beat. I thought that would be our lowest point with conspiracies, but this one takes the cake, man.
Man, I really thought we'd find some math. I really thought we'd find like a turned physicist that's like, actually, if you have these numbers like this, it explains it. And we're like, oh, look, like at least they've like got some math on their side that can like explain it mathematically, but they didn't.
You know, and honestly, that would have cost me to put down my 7th or 8th drink and be like, lean in and be like, oh, really? But no, that didn't happen.
Right. If you have like actually some mind-blowing mathematical formula that explains some of this, that would have been great. But obviously, it doesn't exist. So
There we are.
I think
Sorry,
it's
guys.
I think it's time to move on to the stiff truth.
It is time.
We gave a little bit of a mini stiffy there. It's like a half chub.
It was a half chub. It was basically, or just the tip. We just threw it in for a minute just to test it out, see how it was. That's all we did. But we found out it was bullshit, so we zipped our pants back up and we moved on. So
We did. It was very unsatisfying.
So, if you don't mind, Bob, you want me to roll this out a little bit here? The stiff truth.
Oh, get in there, my friend.
I'm gonna get right in there, balls deep
get
in this
all
bitch.
up in there, dude.
Balls deep. But guys, today we are going to be talking something that is, I think it is quite relevant to the discussion, especially in an election year. But we're talking about immigration today, and I know this is it is what it is. It's a little bit different from our last few topics, but we like to mix things up. And me and Bobby thought it would be a good idea to really just discuss and break down what's going on with immigration here. Is there good immigration? Is there bad immigration? Is it good for America? Is it bad for America? What do different parties think about it and why? And really just take it from there, because one thing that I think everybody knows is that America is founded and really built on the hard work of immigrants in general. Unless you're a Native American, you fall into that category. So we're going to dive into that and really talk about the validity and the legality of immigration, a lot of the rules that are in place right now, and see where we come out at the other end, Bob, because I think the Stiffies and I think others, non-Stiffies, Stiffettes are going to be maybe a little bit surprised, maybe not, Bob, but
I know I was a little bit surprised as we dug into this. Little teaser.
So, guys, the first thing I think we want to dive into is kind of the history of our stances on immigration when we talk about the two major parties, duopoly, right? We've got the conservative Republicans, the liberal Democrats, and Bob, this was both very enlightening, I think, for both of us, but they seem to have flipped the script on both ends of the table. And we had mentioned this in a prior show, and shame on you, Stiffies, if you didn't listen to this show and you don't know what I'm referencing here, but there was a 1980 presidential debate between George Herbert Walker Bush and Ronald Reagan. And they started talking about immigration. And Bob, I'm going to let you take it from there.
Well, the interesting thing about that debate, when we pulled up that old grainy footage, and
It was grainy.
This is like real footage too. This is like pre-VHS.
It looked like Debbie Does Dallas kind of footage. You know what I mean? Like a 70s porn.
Exactly. You still saw like the black spots in the film. But they talked about open borders. Both candidates talked about open borders. They talked about, the need to make like immigration an easy thing for people to come over. And I didn't even realize this until we had started doing our research. But there's been a cap on immigration since the 30s. Mm-hmm. I think it was the early 30s, to where it was just like 150,000 or so people that could come across legal immigrations per year, and if you weren't in that group, you had to wait.
Or come over illegally. That was your two choices.
Or come over illegally. Lately, though, things have opened up a little bit. We still have like a similar cap, but we do have some other instances, right? So we have visas that we give people to come on work visas. So they can come over here and not part of immigration, but just work here and still have their citizenship somewhere else. And that's a different thing. You can kind of create a path from a visa to citizenship eventually. That's not what visas are for. Visas are for work, right? You come over here to work. It would be like if you lived in the UK and you got an American job and you didn't want to be an American, but you wanted to make American money. Fuck you. And you'd come over here on a visa and you'd make your
go back, you libby fucking bastard, and go brush your teeth.
That's right. So other than that, there are some other exemptions that have happened, in the last few decades that are, asylum seekers, religious persecution, war, things like that. There's refugee status for, war-torn countries. So there's a few other exemptions. So the overall number is different, but basically the normal, I want to come to America legally, I'm going to apply for, citizenship and immigration status. it really is like 140,000 people a year, and if you don't get there, you have to wait the next year, the next year, the next year, the next year, and it might take you a decade.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say, I got to imagine the line to come into the country doesn't get shorter every year, right? So it's like if you get asked out one year, it's not like you go to the front of the line either. That's the other thing too. I have to imagine.
No, I think there is. If you've been waiting, you do get put up like a kind of a heart transplant list, right?
Bob, that doesn't fit my narrative I was just talking about, so that's fake news.
Obviously.
No, and just to interject real quick here, I thought it was really refreshing. We talked about it before, but Reagan starts that debate when they start asking about immigration he refers to Mexico as our neighbors to the south. Yep. When's the last time you heard that from a fucking Republican, man? Jesus Christ. Anyways, go ahead.
No. So there's a bunch of things that popped up that were very, very interesting. So in the 80s, the Republican Party was very much open borders. Come to America, bring your taxable incomes here. Come take some of these lower wage jobs that we need filled. Our businesses are kind of built off of having these, so that there was a big thing that was part of it, right? The GOP were very, very all about immigration.
Doesn't that make sense, though? Especially from a money-making, economy booming old thought of the Republican Party, right? I mean, during the Reagan years, the economy was at its peak of excess. You know what I mean? So, okay, that just makes sense to me. What happened? What went wrong, Bob?
Well, I don't know what went wrong, but definitely things changed.
Yeah.
So in the late 80s, the Democrats were more of the we need to build the wall. We need to keep immigrants out, we need to keep illegals out. And in fact, in 1994, the Clinton administration proposed the first wall. So it was fencing, technology, border control, strict immigration policies. And you don't think of that if you just generalize, especially modern Democrats.
You don't think of that at all, which is really interesting to me, because we know on both ends of the table what's the point behind this stance is illegals are taking our jobs. They're taking jobs away from Americans. They're bringing in criminals, yada, yada, yada. Correct? So apparently the Democrats had that stance, and now it's the other way around.
Well, plus back in the day, immigrants, let's just call it like it is, fact, immigrants were white. Immigrants were from Europe. So there's a little bit of race intertwined into some of these stats, right?
That encompasses both of my families.
Right.
That's not good.
But you have papers now, so you're good.
I am no longer without papers, my friend. And I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm no longer a WAP, even though people will call me that.
Not to your face.
Actually, you have before, but it's been off camera, so that's okay.
But I'm also an asshole. So in 1996, Bill Clinton in the State of the Union address said, and I quote, "After years of neglect, this administration has taken a strong stand to stiffen the protection of our borders." That sounds like something you'd hear the Trump administration say, right? Yeah. Very, very different. So I hadn't put two and two together because I haven't paid attention to immigration over the last 30 years to see what's been happening. And really, I didn't even pay it any mind until Scott actually showed me that GOP presidential debate, that primary debate between Bush and Reagan. And that's kind of what kind of sparked all of this, right? So we really did want to enlighten some of the stiffies that might not have paid attention to this. Even in 2002, George Bush passed a law to make it easier. Our good friend of the show.
He's a great friend of the show.
He passed immigration law to make it easier for immigrants to come, right? So this isn't like something that has been gradually happening over time.
No.
So even in the 2000s, the parties were still pretty much the same. In fact, 2008, Obama campaigned on tough border control and anti-immigration stance, that was 12 years ago for you, for you stiffies out there that aren't necessarily Andrew Yang.
Got to throw it in there.
It really wasn't until the Trump campaign that the Republican Party kind of hopped on board, because this was a Trump thing. This wasn't a GOP platform thing, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, and that's interesting to me too. Is like you said, it wasn't a gradual change of things for both parties. I literally think that, quite frankly, like you just said, this only became a thing when right before the Trump campaign in 2016, the election, is like they needed something to run on. You know what I mean? And they literally said, you know what? Okay, jobs at that point were down. You know, there was still, even though they had incrementally gone up during the Obama years, you know, there was still a pretty big impact from the economic downturn, which impacted everybody, right? So they were kind of looking for something to say, who can we point the blame at? Who can we campaign on? What can we champion, right, for this campaign? And it was a direct point at Mexico, pretty much, and Asia, let's face it, right? Because I think Asian Americans and Hispanic Americans are the biggest influx of immigrants to this country, if I'm correct in reading. Yeah, right. So that was kind of the stance, and I think the easiest target was Mexico. And I think the easiest target, because being Mexico, is, let's face it, during a lot of the time in the mid-2000s, what did we have going on with Mexico that was very negative? We had El Chapo and El Mayo fucking funneling in thousands and thousands of pounds of methamphetamines and heroin into the country. That was pretty bad, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and say that kind of kick-started the renewal of the opioid epidemic in America. Right. So that was the other thing. It's like, how can we play off of that, a downturn in jobs, and blame this all on some faction of people or some country, and give us a position of power and something to rally behind. So literally in 2015, 2016, there's this resurgence of the Republican Party led by Trump to really just criminalize the entire nation of Mexico, pretty much, based off of what happened throughout what I just mentioned. Because it wasn't a big thing. And there's still a lot of Republicans up until that point that still had the humanitarian, empathetic stance against, or towards immigration, right? So, and then the other thing, I think on the other side, I think what happened is, as we talked about it too, I looked at the graphs as well. I do look at graphs. I like graphs. They're very enlightening. But you see from 1995, the Democratic Party be very majority white. That's the other big thing too, right? Is when this was going on with Clinton and the closing the borders, and again, this ideology that the immigrants are taking our jobs, they're doing this, they're fucking stripping things away from Americans, they're lowering wages, all this bullshit, right? That was a big thing in the mid-'90s, like you had mentioned.
So just to pause you right there real quick, in 1995, the Democratic Party was 76% white.
Mm-hmm. Which now
3% non-white.
I'm going to go off memory.
There's a percent in there somewhere that claims neither.
Look, I'm going to go off memory and not look at that. But then you increase to modern days. Now it's 49% non-white in the Democratic Party. Is that correct?
41. Close.
Fuck.
41% non-white, 57% white.
Anyways, I tried really hard to recall that. But that's a huge jump too. So
yeah,
you start including almost half of the Democratic Party now is non-white. And the majority of those people are Hispanic or Asian, some African American, but I think the majority are, again, the two biggest influxes of immigrants into our country.
Yeah, and I would say that a lot of them are probably first, second, or third generation Americans of that non-white group.
Totally sidebar. She's not really a part of this, but even Kamala Harris, her dad is from Jamaica. Her mom is from, is it India? Yeah, India.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, and she's a first generation then.
Yep.
Wouldn't that make her first generation? So again, that's just one example of this. Our boy, good friend of the show, Andrew Yang, right? Another one. So Asian American. But again,
he's refused to acknowledge my tweet for an interview, though. Just saying.
What a fucking asshole. You know what you should do? No, I can't say that. Never mind. We'll have to edit it. Let's just move on. Sorry.
I'm just going to keep tweeting at him like a jaded ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
He will answer my message at some point.
But it is
We're gonna have
really
a tweet
interesting.
army started with the Stiffies, so he's gonna get like 30 a day.
We're gonna no, I can't say that either. Fuck, dude, I'm running out of I got funny things to say, Bob, but they're colorful. That's all I'm gonna say. But no, my point here is there is a reasoning behind why the Democratic Party has shifted, and there is a reasoning behind why the Republican Party has shifted. But to me, it's more warranted, and I'm stepping out of my normal things of saying it's more warranted that the Democratic Party made the shift, if you know what I mean, right? Because if you have more of the population of your
You have to
party
represent your constituents.
you have to represent your constituents, and you got to represent yourself, right? To a certain extent. So if almost half of your party is now non-white and has a personal stake in these immigration laws, it makes sense that they take more of this humanitarian stance to immigration rather than a criminal stance to it.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Sorry to interrupt. Just so that everyone knows, I'm
I
going
was
to
in
go ahead and
mid-thought.
I'm going to go ahead and put these articles from NPR, which is fairly unbiased, right? So we're
No,
going
it's
to put.
fake news. That's fake news.
So I'm going to put kind of the history of immigration for the Democrats and the history of immigration for the GOP. These great articles that they wrote explaining the last 40 years or so, and I'll put them in the comments or the description on YouTube, and I'll put them in the description of the podcast. Sorry.
Yeah.
Please continue.
No. Whatever, Bob. Whatever. No, but please do, because these are not long reads either. They're like 10-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute reads. I mean, they're pretty.
They have to
reads.
be. We read them.
Yeah. And there's pictures, and that's what kept me going too. So, guys, in fact, I have to say this, just total sidebar. Did you see the picture? If you scroll down to on the Democratic Party one, where Clinton's talking and Janet Rito's there, and there's like this little tiny man. Did you see him? Who the fuck is that? He's like this little, and I'm not making fun of midgets or anything, but I kind of am. If you go, it's
wow.
I was looking at that earlier when I was reading this. I was like, how the fuck, what the fuck is that guy doing? There's an Oopa Loopa in there. But anyways, I had to mention
Take it easy on the Game of Thrones cast.
Peter Dinklage is apparently
Peter Dinklage is way cooler than that guy.
Yeah, no, but seriously, that is a small little man. There's two. Now, granted, Janet Reno is like an Amazonian type woman, but the other one looks about normal size. Wow. Anyways, that was impressive.
Well, and that's kind of what I was saying about the Game of Thrones is because she looks like
what's her name?
Brienne of Tar.
Yeah, Brienne of Tar. Yeah.
There you go.
Guys, we're really showing our nerdness today, which is fun. But yeah, no.
Yeah, but I got laid, so I don't believe in flat Earth.
Beam, 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 beam. No, firing away, my friend. But again, I'm more scratching my head, I think, about the Republican side of it. I'm just going to go ahead and say that because honestly, let's look at it just like everybody did in 2016. A lot of Republicans just denounced, condemned Trump and his stance, and even him going for president. You remember that, right? There was a lot of people that's like, this guy's not. And it wasn't.
One of the most starchest was Lindsey Graham,
right? Who now sucks his dick every day
for real. He has to wipe his chin every morning before he talks to the press.
It's also Hannity, like I was saying. But seriously, what's crazy about this is that's how, and I'm going to say it about both parties too. That's how weak the parties are right now with conviction. Do you know what I mean? This is where we've come to, is literally up until 2015, we'll say, around that time, I think the Republicans and Democrats were kind of on the same page with immigration. They both were looking at, especially in history, they both started to, the Democrats, obviously, it made a lot more sense for them to look at this as a humanitarian type deal. And these are people, like, let's make sure we understand, especially for DACA, right? Like, these are kids. They didn't fucking come here by themselves. They were put here, So like,
let's unlock that a little bit.
You want me to get my key for the chastity belt? Let me do it.
I don't know if everyone's on the up and up with what DACA is.
Well,
I know
one thing they do know, Bob, is me and you both have giant girthy DACAs. So there's that.
Huge DACAs. So I have So
I'm very immature. I'm sorry.
Let's just explain DACA briefly. right? So DACA is, so let's say you're 2 years old, your parents come over from wherever the fuck, it doesn't matter.
Guatemala.
And
Let's just use that.
let's say Guatemala. All right, so you're Guatemalan. You're in America. You're 2 years old. Come 5 years old, you learn speaking English. Your parents speak, what are they speaking? Spanish in Guatemala?
They sure do.
So, all right, so they speak Spanish, and you go to school. Your English is your first language, right? You speak Spanish at home to your parents, but that's about it. All your friends speak English, whatever. So at like 16, let's just say your parents get caught and get deported.
Ooh, that's
and now you're stuck here, not an American because you weren't born here, but you're about as American as it comes. English is your first language. You went to whatever the fuck school the whole time. You're in high school.
Ooh,
you
that's
play
a
for
good
the football
school.
team.
That's a really good school, wherever the
Right,
fuck.
great GPA. So, and now you're getting deported to Guatemala, and you know nothing about that country. That's what classifies you as what's called a dreamer, right? A member of DACA, right? So that puts you into not American born, but have grown up here, and this is your country basically of origin. You're just not a citizen, and that puts you in an awkward position to where if you get deported, you know nothing about. You're being drastically set up for failure. Right, when by all accounts you're basically American. That puts you in that gray area, and that's what's been addressed with DACA. So just kind of catch everyone up. If you hear DACA and you don't exactly know what it is, the dreamers, quote, are those 2-year-olds that grew up, and now they're stuck in the legal system, and we don't know what to do with them. That's what this protection is for.
Sure, and they're basically anybody under the age of 16. You know what I mean? That that was brought to the country unlawfully, but not at their own discretion.
Right. They have no choice. You have to go with your parents.
So here's the thing there. And I got to say this. I did a lot of research on DACA too. And, you know, part of it was just me playing with my penis, you know, because, you know, I like my DACA. But in all seriousness, this to me is one of the most warranted things that makes sense. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that, right? I think we may both agree on that. I don't see a lot of faults in this policy at all.
That's why it was bipartisan when Obama pushed the DACA legislation, 10 years ago. That's why it had all the support, because at 100%. The time both parties literally believed in it.
Right, and this is pre-Trump, so that makes sense, right? There was no call to make a fucking border wall before Trump either. Besides, if you go back to 1995 when they were trying to put fencing up, so. This is a really interesting thing to me, and how it's getting a lot of negative pushback on the other end of the table now, meeting the conservative side of the table, is for some odd reason and this, like, put yourself in an immigrant's position. Would you fucking do this, first of all? And I know there's sick, disgusting people out there where you're like, you know what I'm doing? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to America with my kids because I want them to have a better life. But I know me and my wife are going to get deported right away back. And I have no problem leaving my kids hanging, right? And just at the mercy of the United States government. But that's my plan. That's what I'm going to do. And this is what I'm going to do 100 times over with other millions of people. Is we're going to go in there. We're going to drop our fucking kids off so they can fucking become great Americans because of this nice little fucking loophole we found, DACA. And we're going to get deported back. We're never going to see our children again. This is fucking obviously the outlandish fucking reasoning I think that some fucking Republicans have right now. They actually think that people are taking advantage of DACA and doing this. I'm calling 100% bullshit on that rationale.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, and it's absolutely right. To put these disadvantaged children, which have no voice at all, that's where DACA legislation actually gives them a voice. And it's kind of despicable that Trump's been pushing against DACA for no other reason than to try to appease his base when he's literally the guy that fucking started this movement in the Republican Party. Well, and the rest of the Republicans go along with it because they don't want to lose his base.
They want to be uniform, though. And I get that, though. I do get that, right? Because if you show the public that the Republican Party can't agree on anything, well, that doesn't look good for people that want to support the Republican Party, right? If you're coming in, again, if you're that moderate guy, Joe Schmo, Mr. I'm in the middle, who do I go with? Do I go with these guys that all agree on everything? Or these guys are fucking tugging and pulling in every direction. They don't have their shit together. That's not going to make you feel really good about registering as a Republican.
Yeah, and even if you don't agree with it, at least they have conviction and direction.
Sure. But that's my big issue with it too. Is like it's ridiculous too. And now there's so much pushback from only Republican governors right now, and it's unwarranted too. Like everything we're about to say now is 100% true. there's the worry that immigrants through the DACA program are stealing American jobs. That's not true. There's plenty out there. There's no cap on American jobs, first of all. In fact, there's jobs that still can't be filled. So go fuck off with that rationale. That's number one, right? Number two, it lowers the wage rate. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You know what I mean? It brings in criminals. No. Usually people that are in the DACA program are going to school. They're graduating. They're becoming productive members of society that fucking pay their goddamn taxes. And there's a lower percentage of them that are criminals than people that are Americans. So there's just so many things that by scholarly fucking research have been completely discredited to this movement. And like you said, it's really unfortunate because the base he's appealing to, and here I go, going to go out on a limb here.
Oh, please stand on your soapbox. Let us all know.
Trump's base that he's worried about that back him up. Sorry, there's this fruit fly that's fucking with me bad. But Trump's base that he's so worried about that he doesn't want to lose that back him up on this are uneducated middle American fucking redneck fucking dipshits.
Tell us how you really feel.
I just said it, right? But I'm serious. These are the people he's concerned about. The people that got out there and voted in 2016 that never voted for. God bless them. Go vote for him. But unfortunately, these people are goddamn motherfuckers taking their jobs, fucking stupid Mexican motherfuckers. These are the people that he's worried about. And I just got to say, yeah, it's fucking bullshit, Bob. I'm going to let you take over before I get more trouble.
Well, I think that it's bigger than that.
It is bigger than that. But that's the base.
No, not your argument. I think for the president. Like, he needs to be concerned with something bigger than that because his base alone will not get him reelected.
So do you think he should be concerned about the size of his DACA?
He should definitely be concerned about his DACA.
What does Melania think about his DACA?
I don't know. Not much. She lives in New York. He lives in Florida.
Sorry.
But she tips the bellboy well. So
well, he's got a nice DACA.
He does. So
God, we're
like
children.
I said, so his base probably, I would say 25, a good solid 25% of the country, maybe a little bit less.
Mm-hmm.
Is his solid base that'll vote for him no matter what. Those are those folks you mentioned earlier. But there's also
that was a good way to clean it up, Bob.
There's also those Republicans that'll just vote for him because they need to maintain a Republican power in the executive branch, right? And there's another, 15% or so of people. Okay, so now we're up to like 40%. 40% won't get you elected.
Mm-mm.
He has to be able to reach out in some areas and pull votes. Last time, there was a lot of voters that said, I'm going to vote for Trump because he's not Hillary. I don't think there's near as many of those that are going to say, I'm going to vote for Trump because he's not Biden. I definitely don't. I don't think those votes are out there this time. And I don't think he's really doing a lot to change that. And this DACA thing, very few things are more American than the DACA policy. We're a country of immigrants. We are a melting pot.
And it's literally like, and I'm just going to sum it up like layman style here, but it's literally like, hey, these kids, it's not their fucking fault that they're here, but yes, they're here. What do we do as Americans to children? Let's face it. If you're under the age of 16, you fucking support them and you give them the opportunity to be successful. That's all we can do, right? So unless they've proven otherwise, like we talked about before the show, if they're repeat criminals, right? If they've got felonies and they just can't get out of there, we don't want to take other people's garbage. Like we talked about before, we've got plenty of garbage in this fucking country already, meaning fucking low-class, scummy criminal people. We don't want that.
Yeah, thanks. We gave it the office.
Yeah, right? But at the same time, if they don't show those kind of signs, they're not those kind of people. They're literally just innocent fucking children that were put here unlawfully, I will add, but illegally, I will add, but not by themselves, by their parents. We cannot hold them accountable for their parents' fucking responsibilities and their choices. That's just the way it goes, man. You know what I mean? So it is the most American thing we can do. This is literally why the Statue of Liberty is there and what it represents. We need to do something about it.
It even says it at the bottom.
It does. It actually, it does say that, guys. Like it does say, give us your fucking poor, right? What else does it say? I don't know the whole
You're
fucking
poor, thing. You're weak, you're hungry.
I almost was like Joe Biden. I was like, the fucking thing.
The fucking thing on the bottom of the doohickey. Yeah, I just busted out doohickey.
Yeah, I was just about to say I haven't heard doohickey in a long time. That's a good one, man. You're pulling that back from Biden's childhood.
The interesting thing about all of this is that the Republicans would have been so much better off leaving that harsh immigration policy to the Democrats and chastising them for it.
Exactly. And right now, you know what it's doing? And I think you mentioned it too, and a little bit, is it's causing them an absence of votes that they could possibly get from any minorities right now, especially anybody that's of Hispanic or Asian descent that lives in the country.
So here's the devastating thing that I see. Trump threw it out there probably without even talking to anyone, right, in the campaign about this wall shit, without even talking to Reince Priebus or anyone at the Republican National Convention or a National Committee or whatever, right? And basically changing a fucking policy that's been long-standing Republican policy. The crazy part about it is he did it to get elected, right? But it's cutting off your nose to spite your face for the Republicans, because as we all know, the ever-growing populace of the country is non-white. So as the population grows of immigrants and non-whites, you're literally going to say that we want, the non-whites to go back to their country. Whereas the Democrats, then give them the opportunity to take that and be the saviors of, we're the ones looking out for your best interest now that Trump gave us the window.
Right. And what I was going to say there when I was trying to interrupt you, but you did a good job of over talking me. Congrats.
So my wife says.
You're I will say this: you know how to talk with me, anyways, because I tend to overtalk. But what I was going to say too is that's especially important right now because of the growth of the Hispanic population in America. It's the fastest growing minority and will be the majority minority by I can't remember the study, but by a study by 2044. Right. So literally to piss off and discredit that fucking nationality right now and that group of people is probably the dumbest thing you could possibly do, because they're growing in numbers dramatically, my family included. I have Hispanics in my family too, and it's the common thing with a lot of people, especially people from New Mexico. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. Well, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, California, whatever.
Well, I've told my wife this, kind of half joking, right? Is the way that Trump acts, it's almost like he's a sleeper agent that was sent by the Democrats to ruin the Republican Party for a few decades.
You know what? That's so fucking interesting that you say that, because you do know, right, that Trump was a Democrat a long time ago.
He was a registered Republican, but he gave money incessantly to Democrats. In fact, 80% of his donations to political parties were to Democrats. And I know that because I'm reading the book Fear by Bob Woodward.
There you go. But without reading the book, Stiffies, because all of you that like to look at pictures like I do and not read, that's true, though. It's very true that he has had more of a leaning until his presidential run for liberal policies.
Well, he grew up in New York. It makes sense.
And he's trust fund baby, so that also makes sense.
Right. It just New York's one of the more progressive cities in the world. Outside of maybe San Francisco.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
probably.
So I mean, it definitely makes sense. And then as far as being asked about it in the book, at least it said that he's like, well, I just gave to those guys because you got to grease the politicians to get your building permits and to get your stuff done.
Oh, sure.
And they're Democrats because it's New York. But when he was trying to run for president, Reince Priebus said, hey, we've got to get you donating to Republicans because they're just going to pull this and it's going to look like shit for you. You've got to start donating to Republicans. So he did. He spent all of 2015, 2014 donating to Republicans to try to offset those numbers a little bit more so they couldn't pull that in campaign ads.
Yeah. Well, and here's the one thing I do want to say. I honestly don't want people to think that I am all for illegal immigration. That's not the point we're trying to make right now. Do you know what I mean? We talked about this before. Here's the other thing. Here's what I don't agree with. I do not agree with letting people into the country again, that are repeat criminal offenders or that are just not good people by definition of their stats that they have, and coming in here and not paying fucking taxes and getting jobs. That's we talked about it earlier. I'm a little bit even against the under the table shit. I understand that they will pay back in the GDP growth and everything, but if somebody's not paying taxes like I fucking have to and watching my paychecks fucking shrink 50% every fucking couple of weeks, they don't deserve to be here. That's my thing. That's the other thing. So again, and I think this is the few and far between scenario, though, if you ask me, right? But it does happen where people try to come here and they don't fucking do it the legal way, and they don't have children. They stay here and they squat and they make money off of our system, and they don't pay taxes, and they do whatever, commit crimes. Even if they don't commit crimes, I think those people need to be deported. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Go back to your fucking country and try it again. And I'll highlight what I just said, and try it again. Not that you can't be here, but if you're not like a fucking lifetime criminal, that's somebody that's going to be a fucking pollutant to our society in that sense, then just go back and do it the right way, dude. Do it the fucking right way. And here's the other thing. I know there's a cap on things, but there's so many loopholes for people to get into this country and to get permanent status as a citizen. Go that route. If you're that motivated to get here, go that fucking route and get here legitimately, and boom, bam. That's what I got to say.
There's a couple things I'd like to add on to that. I'd also say that if you've had in your own country and you're trying to migrate here, and it's the equivalent of a felony in our country, you lost your ticket. I'm sorry. Choose another country.
We can't do that. We can't do that.
We don't even let our own felons vote. In most states.
Well, I think California took the Band-Aid off that, didn't they?
I don't know, but you lose your ticket. And if you can't get into America and you are trying to better your life, there are some other options. Maybe start off in Canada, and then maybe try to work on it while you're there. You still get a ways,
It's a lot easier to come in here from Canada and being a Canadian citizen than just being a citizen.
And honestly, I think it's a lot easier to get into Canada in general than it is here, but don't quote me on that.
I won't quote you on that. I will say this too. A lot of people complain about how hard it is to get into the country, the United States. It's actually still pretty goddamn easy if you're not a piece of shit. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. And the reason I'll say that is try to get a Swiss citizenship. Try to, Bob.
Or
you
Norway or the Netherlands or whatever.
We can't even get in there. We don't have enough fucking money in our fucking portfolio to get into those countries because they literally, and rightfully so, these people are put together. They're looking for people that are going to directly contribute to their fucking
Australia the same way.
Yeah, they don't let pieces of shit in there or people that are poor. And granted, that doesn't sound good to Americans, which I think people need to appreciate the American immigration system a lot more than they do that want to downplay it and discredit it, because there's other really great countries out there. And the Nordic countries, Australia are a couple, like you mentioned, that it's really fucking hard to become a citizen of these other countries because they're looking for the best of the best because they already have that fucking thing going on.
Like Australia, you have to, quote, add value to their society to be considered. Which means they want to look at your degree, your portfolio, your history, your achievements, and they consider all of that for your application.
Doesn't that kind of make sense, though? Like, literally, if you're going to grow your population inorganically from outside of your country, don't you want people that are going to come in and that directly contribute to the betterment of the country? It does make sense to me.
But it also makes sense for... I say it still makes sense for the little guy that has all the best intentions and hasn't achieved those successes yet.
Oh, I'm not backing it up. I'm not backing it up, though. What I'm saying, though, is they don't have the Statue of Liberty sitting outside of Australia, though. So we did this for a reason, because we were built off immigration. We were built off people fucking leaving a tyrannical rule in Britain, right? And like taxation without representation, all this shit, right? So we kind of had to stand on that. But these other countries didn't do that. They didn't fucking put themselves out like that. So they have the right to say, you know what? Our country kicks fucking ass. Our economy kicks ass. Everything, our social aspects kick ass. If you want in, you got to prove to us you're worth it. And that's their fucking prerogative, dude. So there's that.
Well, so here's what I would like for the Stiffies to consider when you're thinking about immigration. Please don't get blinded by campaigning and what the last couple of years are going, and the rhetoric that you hear on the news. I don't care which station it is. Do your research, and you're a damn terrorist. An Armenian terrorist. Yeah, that's
Well,
taking it back.
That's why I shave every day.
So, immigration's and the policies and the parties might not be what you think if you just turn on the news in the last couple of years. So do your research and look at your party if you're a party, and look at how they actually stand on it currently and how they've historically stand on it, and then make your own decision for what you think, because there's a lot of value that immigrants have always brought to America. And there's a lot of bullshit rhetoric that gets put out there for partisanship. And we need to be above that rhetoric and be smart enough to go and actually look and read the details. And that's why I thought it important to put these two articles from NPR up there so that everyone can kind of go and look at the Democratic and Republicans' history for the last 40 years. Sorry, Scott, there's not a libertarian article that I could find. I would have posted that.
I will go ahead and say this. That's okay, because I think, hopefully, but both you and I assume, though, that the libertarians are for open borders. So there's just that.
I mean, it's a classic conservative viewpoint, so that doesn't surprise me.
Like classic meaning old school, like not anymore. Yeah, I get you. I got you. 100%.
Oh, sorry. Instead of classic, it's a traditional conservative viewpoint.
A constitutional viewpoint. Maybe we can add. All right.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you right now that my family, several generations back, were immigrants, and I don't know that for a fact, but I'm fairly certain.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
I'm too cheap to buy the genealogy test.
Yeah. Well, and also you don't want to put yourself out there. You know what I mean? You could find out that you're a serial killer or something like that, or your uncle was, or something.
I thought the bodies I had to get rid of let me in on that.
No, dude, you're good. You're good. Oh,
that's okay. I just got rid of them in Wayfair.
And I bought them like an asshole.
This is going to Centennial. Interesting.
The last 5 packages have gone to the Centennial. The same address, too. That's
weird.
Really strange. Well, guys, I don't know about you, Bob, but that might wrap it up for us. I mean, I guess in summary here, man, I think we're both on the same page with, again, I find that interesting here is, I think you said it best, man. There's a lot of bullshit being fucking thrown around about immigration and immigrants in general, but we're a country built on it. And if people are here for the right reasons, or they're here because they just got dropped off here and it wasn't their fucking accord, then we got to give them the opportunity, give them a little rope. If they hang themselves with it, then we can take next steps, right? So immigration is great. Unless you're a piece of shit.
And I was going to say that's the same for citizens.
Yeah, it really is.
Same rope, right? I mean,
well, and that makes sense, right? We're all treated equal. So there's that. So, but guys, I think we're going to wrap this one up, man. This has been a fun show. I think we had a really good conversation here. I have to apologize again right out of the gate for the flat earthers out there. I really tried, guys. Bob tried too. We were excited to see some science and some math behind the conspiracy, but there's none. So we got to just go ahead and say you're batshit crazy losers. But other than that, my friend,
I'm no Andrew Yang, but I need a little bit of math.
I do. But I think we're about done for today. Bob, you want to take us home?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you for letting us into your Sunday or your Monday or your Tuesday or whenever the hell you listen to the show. But we do know you listen because our numbers are steady increasing all the time. So you Stiffies are amazing. Thank you for following us and being in it. I would ask that reach out to us more, guys. We like to hear and engage with our audience. The Stiffy army needs to get more involved. So other than that, same stuff. Like us, review us, subscribe, promote the show, do as best you can. Tell your friends, tell your family. The show's where it's at, and if you don't know, that's you better ask somebody.
And guys, I guess I'll leave you with this too. Be fucking lazy, get drunk, and use fucking Instacart. It's a great fucking service, guys. So until next week, when we'll obviously have another fascinating fucking show, jam-packed full of content and great conversation, me and Bob will bid you adieu, and we'll see you next week.
See ya. stiff truth.